Hello, everybody. Justin Stivers here. Thank you guys for joining us on the Stivers Show. Very excited. Our guest today, Molly McGrath. Molly is the owner of Hiring and Empowering Solutions. She is a legal staffing guru, a consultant for small law firms, and I've known her for couple years now. She actually helped me bring on a paralegal, so I can personally vouch for her services and skills. And I could speak with her for hours, but we're probably going to try to limit it to 15 to 20 minutes, at least for this. But Molly, thank you for being on with me today.
Justin, I'm so honored. Thank you for having me.
This is perfect, because I think your business, you've already been practicing, pretty virtual, pretty, remotely anyways. And I know so you were ahead of the game when all of this, coronavirus stuff happened. I don't think you missed a beat as far as, your practice or anything like that. And so I think you've got a lot of value. And I know we were talking beforehand, you've been consulting with a lot of your clients and really helping them, the attorneys, get up to speed, because unfortunately, lawyers are not known for being tech savvy and being ahead of the curve when it comes to innovation. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. So very excited for this. But just to kind of, get, the people watching a little bit to learn a little bit more about you and everything, maybe, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Sure.
So, yeah, I've been working virtually for 20 years now. And I got started, like you said, I only work with small solo attorneys. It's important for me to be connected to the heartbeat of the firm and be able to speak with the innovator and the founder so I can get inside their brain of exactly what they're looking for in their business, in their people, their process, their profit, all that. So I got into this business working for a national legal organization, 22 plus years ago. And I would go to the national conferences and do the event planning, et cetera. And through that, I saw this crazy dichotomy, if you will, between the employee mindset and the attorney mindset. And years after years and years and years of attending these legal conferences, I would see so often how the attorneys really didn't have somebody that had their back, that really understood what it took to run a small solo business, but a law firm in particular, where you're waking up at 2:00 in the morning, worrying about clients, worrying about the client experience, worrying about malpractice, all the things that are very unique to a law practice. And through that, my attorney that I supported started a coaching program back in 1997 when coaching wasn't even a street term, and we would coach the attorneys in the conferences. And I saw such a missing component of having a apprenticeship, if you will, or a coaching program for the support team, because the attorneys would learn all this amazing stuff. They would go back to their office with their binders and with their bags full of all their learnings and gadgets and tools and tricks and techniques, and they would dump it on their team's office, and they would be so excited. Look at all this great stuff that we could bring back to our clients, bring back to our office, to our processes. And I use the analogy, the attorney was like the kid coming back from the zoo with the balloon, and the employee would be like with the pin and pop the balloon, because they weren't in the room. They didn't get to experience the why. They didn't get to experience the mindset. They didn't get to really see all the ins and outs other than, here, go implement this. So that's when I got really deeply curious and passionate about crafting what I've kind of coined as an entrepreneur in an entrepreneur's world.
You coined that word?
Yeah,
I
did.
And so what would you say kind of your specialty is?
My specialty, I'd say, is getting the attorney and the employees in the same room and really being able to crack open their heads and their hearts and figure out what their goals, objectives are personally and professionally, and then trying to bridge the gap. And I've heard that from people. That's a term that people have said that so often they'll say to me, how long have you had a camera in our office? I feel like you have a camera inside my head, either the attorney or the entrepreneurs or the employee's mind. And I think it's because I've been so deeply present throughout it. And my specialty is to bring them both together, get them on the same playing field, and really being able to discern who's doing what to reach goal, and making certain that everybody's in the right seat on the bus, so to speak. Because so often I think there's such a disconnect in regards to who's doing what to reach goal. You hire someone for a job description, then you throw them in there, and then it kind of jukes and jives depending on what the crisis of the day is. And people never take the appropriate time for the power of the pause to keep realigning.
Gotcha. Okay. So I want to, because what is today? April 6th? Oh, it's
Yeah.
April. Time doesn't matter right now. It's bizarre. So we're in the middle of you know, this coronavirus thing, and so you know, I'd be curious. Just I think people watching be interested to know, what are you seeing right now from the employee standpoint? Are you seeing a lot of, I mean, we were talking a little bit before we started recording that unfortunately, just given the situation, some law firms are, it's both, right? It's people are letting people go, and then people are, you know, extremely busy right now and having to hire people, which is great. For the people that maybe are having to let people go, and from the employee side, what's kind of the, this is a general, I mean, kind of a broad question, but what's kind of the feel out there on the employee side? Are they panicking that, you know, are we going to be able to find a job again? Are we going to go back to our job again? Or has it changed a little bit, do you think?
I think it's changed a little bit in the past month or so that we've kind of been in this new normal, in regards to if people are letting go of employees. What I'm hearing from employees that are contacting us is that they're looking for culture more than anything. They're not panicking. And I really want entrepreneurs to hear this, because I think they're, especially since 2008, where it took us, it was very different. You know, people lost their jobs, and then there wasn't this power of the pause, if you will, this evaluation that I'm seeing that's going on. People aren't panicking. They're really taking this time to look deeply at what they want, what type of business they want to work for, what type of leader they want to work with, the culture that they want, et cetera. Especially this working from home right now, too. People are really struggling with working from home, both the attorney and the employees as well, especially if they've worked in a law firm that had such an amazing culture. They're really trying to find that connection, and they're really trying to figure out how to be efficient and effective, which just really warms my heart.
Yeah.
My phone's been ringing off the hook from employees saying, can you help me be really efficient? I know that my attorney's nervous about us working from home, et cetera. How can I over communicate with them? How can I instill confidence in them to know that I have their back, that I'm doing a good job? So I'm seeing from employees right now, you know, always there's two camps, right? People that are excited because of whatever government assistance going to be there, et cetera. They're not worried. That's not typically the type of people that I work with,
Right.
but the ones that some firms did panic. You and I talked about this at the beginning, and they just froze and let go of people. And then the employees that are calling me and saying, "Hey, my attorney closed down their law firm," they're almost interviewing me more than I'm interviewing them. They're saying, "Here's where I live. Tell me about who the top law firms are to work from." And my question to them is always, well, tell me what top means from you. Are you talking about volume, revenue? What are you talking about? And it's really fascinating and exciting to hear them say, no, I want to hear about the leader. I want to hear about the management. I want to hear about the culture and things of that nature. I'm finding that it's no longer just about money. You know, you and I were talking about this before this happened. And in the legal space, it's still pretty tight. You know, the unemployment rate in the legal space has been very, very low. And I haven't seen it drastically shift in the past 30 days. And I don't anticipate it is so much. But even when I would call, I do the recruiting side, and I would reach out to candidates. I'd say, hey, are you happy? Are you being treated well? Would you like to explore a new opportunity? Nothing made my heart just so full than to hear candidates, attorneys, paralegals, legal assistants, what have you, that wouldn't even talk to me, and their response would be, I'm delighted where I'm working. I love where I work, but thank you for reaching out. I'll let you know if anything ever changes.
Do you think so? One thing you mentioned is, and I kind of want to talk about, is the aspect of working from home, right?
Hmm.
And I know there's people struggling with that. I know that's, I'm fortunate, I'm able to kind of, come into my office um, so working from home can be challenging, but my entire staff is at their home. They're all working from home and everything. And I think we found ways to communicate. We have scheduled Zoom calls, check-ins, and email. We're constantly checking in as well. Do you see that though as being the new norm, where maybe some of these firms, like for example, one of my employees, it's with traffic wise, it takes her about an hour each way to and from. And I was kind of, we were talking, and she's like, there's pros about it. I think she would probably rather come into the office just because she's got all her kids with her right now as well. So she needs a little bit of a break. But she's like, one of the things she told me is, but I have a lot more time, right? So as opposed to getting home at 7, she's already home at 5:30, right? When we finish for the day. Do you see firms moving to that model?
I do. I believe that this is an amazing opportunity for multiple reasons. Number one, to your point of the efficiency of your employees, and I've been coaching law firms for the past month aggressively on this, on how to build your calendar, how to have your daily huddle at the beginning of the day, how to have it at
Mhm.
the end of the day as a team, how to have the conversation with your children, your spouse, what have you, and setting up. I did a whole summit on that a couple of Fridays ago in the Law Firm Growth Summit. There's phenomenal tips in there. And maybe we could put the link in the bottom
That'd be
for
great.
someone to see. But I will tell you, I do, because this is what I was saying to an attorney even yesterday. I was on a call and I said, listen, the older population, they're getting used to this, they're understanding it, they're playing Scrabble with their grandkids on Zoom. Everything is shifting into this way. I've been doing it for 20 years, and it's normal to me, but I'm having a tremendous amount of grace for the people that it's not. Think about this way. That's what I said to an estate planning attorney. One-on-one, you're meeting in a conference room with your prospective new client, and you're spending an hour and a half having a one-on-one meeting in a brick and mortar building in your office. Now your clients will have an option to either come in, and to your point, people are realizing, oh, I could get the same result without a 40-minute commute there, 40-minute commute on the way back. Now I've got an hour invested in this versus 3. So you can do an initial consultation now with potentially 5 families that you can impact. You got mom and dad in there, plus you got their 4 kids that live in Florida, Colorado, Austin, wherever it is. And now you're no longer having a one-on-one meeting. You're leveraging your time. You're educating the entire family so you don't have to go back and forth and back and forth. And not only that, now you have the 4 siblings that you can educate that might want to take inspired action and work with you. So it's never going to go back to just normal of going in the office. People are going to have options. And as a potential client, you'll say, well, I would love to do this Zoom still, because now my 4 children can come. So the widespread impact is just enormous right
Yeah.
now.
Hey, it's crazy how much it's kind of opened our eyes. This, excuse me, this technology is not new. It's been here.
Mhm.
And so I live in Miami, and my family is all in Tennessee. And for whatever reason, we're like, why don't we, we did this Friday, did like a family dinner where we all just had, Zoom, and we're eating. And it's like, we should have been doing this before. Like, we don't
Yeah.
get to see each other anyways. Like, why, but it's definitely things are different. And I do think people are much more acceptable to this. They get it. It's not as overwhelming just by, we're forced to do it. Right. But I think one of your strengths is that you really look for, and you were talking about it earlier, is building that culture between the employer and the employee, the boss and the bossy, I don't know what the word is, but, that it's that lawyers, and I fall into this trap where, especially if you're a solo or a small law firm, you've got 1,000 different things that you're doing, right? And so we're not always good about articulating what we actually want to get done, how we want it to be done, and we end up just kind of being, just barking orders at people, right? I think that's, my wife would probably say that that's true about me as well. But so I think I could see it becoming more challenging though, with a virtual setup, because, maybe in a brick and mortar, you're forced to have a little bit more of interaction, and it's harder to, get away. Um, I guess it could go the other way, where the fact that you're distant is like you're forced to provide um, more input, more directions in that. So, but from culturally, how do you see, do you have any tidbits or suggestions of how we can maintain that culture and build that relationship between the employer and employee?
Yeah, Justin, I'm hearing quite the opposite from people that even if they didn't have best practice approaches like you do, where you do meet with your team and things of that nature in place, people, even attorneys are saying to me, I cannot believe how much more I'm getting done, how much more efficient we are. So I think that even when you do go back into the office, the more that you could build best practice approaches, having a weekly stakeholders meeting where you're looking at your KPIs, you're looking at your calendar, you're looking at your work in progress, you're looking at all the commitments you have personally, professionally, things of that nature, and then doing an end of week huddle where you're just debriefing everything so you can actually go and enjoy your weekend with your family, I think is number one. Number two, I also teach my the employees is that it really is your job to get inside the head of the attorney. So as much as you can, role reversal, if you will, become their boss, where they just have to show up on stage. When I train people, I say, week number one, you have to shadow your attorney for an entire week. You're going to go in every conference meeting that they have, every speaking engagement, every whatever they have. And by the end of the week, I'll hop on the phone with the attorney and the new employee. And the new employee is like basically in tears. She's like, he doesn't eat. He barely gets to use the restroom. I don't even think I saw him have a glass of water. I can't believe everywhere that he turns, there is a line of people needing something from him constantly. And they have such an appreciation for that. So, I teach employees, it is your job to hold a safe space for the attorney to bark out everything they have in between meetings so they can shift and walk into the client meeting and be fully present for the client. So take it as an honor, not as them being a jerk at all, but it's your job to hold that space for them so they could be fully present when they get in. So even working in a virtual environment, one thing I teach my employees to say at the end of every meeting, they need to debrief. Okay, here's what we talked about. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what you're going to do. And then I always have them ask this powerful question. Actually, two questions. Number one, what are you not seeing right now, attorney, that you wish you could see right now? Like, what do you need right now? Because a lot of times they don't even know because they have so much up in their head, but just asking that powerful question. And the second one I have them ask is, what can we do to increase your confidence? Like, what can we do to increase your confidence? Because, people will typically ask this esoteric question. Do you need anything? Well, you're like, yeah, I need 700 things, but I have 3 minutes before my next meeting. So your default answer is no.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's definitely a lot. I think that's good advice, though. Empower the employee to say, it's not that they're, necessarily barking orders at you in a negative way. It's that they are
Mm-mm.
really trusting you to be able to do that. And I've been in that position before, where maybe I'm giving you 1,000 different things, but it's not because I'm trying to it's I genuinely want you to do these. I believe that you can.
Yeah. And in our Team Empowerment Academy, so we take them through a 10-week program where we teach them to have CEO mindset, to really understand the makeup of an attorney, the mindset of an attorney. And nothing makes me happier when I hear people just say, give it to me, because when you do that 2 millimeter shift and shift your mindset, that your attorney's not dumping on you. They're not trying to give you all the grunt work that they're not willing to do. They're trying to give you to trust you with their calendar, with calling their clients. In this day and age, I still have so many attorneys that have such control issue that they won't even let their team check their email or return phone calls or anything for them, which is such a shame, because the employees are just sitting there saying, like, almost like that Jerry Maguire moment of help me help you. Like, I want to do it, but so often they just have control issues. is what the team will tell me. And I said, I don't believe, maybe it is control issues, but I really don't believe it. I think that they just don't know how to explain what they need. So
Yeah.
you just need to ask better questions and more powerful questions, and also give the attorney permission to say, you don't have to explain it perfectly. You don't have to know exactly how I'm going to get to what the end result is. Just tell me what you need, and then let me go figure out the solution, and then come to you with the proposal.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. I know we've only got a couple minutes left. It goes by quick, and I could ask you a ton more questions, and you've got a ton of great information. So just two more questions. First is, those are all good tidbits, but is there anything specific maybe that you would give to attorneys right now struggling during this kind of transition period, right? I think it's a transition period of, business is changing, right? Your business has to adapt, and I think businesses always kind of have to adapt to some degree, but this is a huge degree, right? Like you cannot just keep doing the way things were before. Is there any actionable advice you would say, or either from a mindset perspective, or tactical strategies, that you would give them, just as open? I know you've got a ton of advice, so anything you want to share would be great.
Yeah, I'll keep it really simple. I'll say number one is, if you do not have a coach, and you don't have a coach that is helping you move the needle 1% every single day, then get a coach. Don't even think about it, and invest in it. None of us are made to do this alone. Number one, I know, Justin, you spend a tremendous amount of time, energy, resources in coaching. I cannot say enough, that's a number one common denominator for any successful human being, whether it's an athlete or it's an entrepreneur or what have you. So don't go it alone. Just make that decision right now. You're not going to worry about the cost or anything of that nature, and make sure you interview I'd say 3 to 5, and then find the one that resonates with you, and is able to clearly pull out exactly what your goals are, because sometimes you're not even sure, or you're making it too big and overwhelming. Number two, I would say, is sit down with your employees immediately, even if you have one employee. And if you don't have any employees, find a colleague, find someone like Justin, or someone in your circle of influence. It's a colleague that you can hop on a Zoom with, and you have to dump out the junk drawer, so to speak. You have to be willing to be vulnerable with your team and say, okay, I'm at a loss here. So often, if you're able to be vulnerable and you're able to really speak real with them in an honest, respectful way, and communicate with them where you're at, they will move mountains for you. And they're desperately, I always say that the root of all anxiety is lack of information. So if you are not over communicating with your team right now, or the people in your circle of influence, you have to start doing that. And once you sit down and just speak the truth, as they say, the truth will set you free, then you can come up with some action. Then you can come up with a solution. Then you can come up with a strategy, but you're not made to go it alone. And if you think you're fooling your team by just white knuckling life and just trying to plow through, you're not. Because if you're not communicating with them, and you're not sharing with them strategy or where you're going, then they'll get very, very nervous.
Yeah, no, I think that's you. I mean, when this was kind of all unfolding in the very beginning, I sat down with my team, and I kind of laid it out. I said, this is where we're at. We don't need to panic, and I was very, very open with them, and I think they were appreciative of that. I know I would have been, because you have friends, you have colleagues that are getting laid off. You turn on the news, which you probably shouldn't do, but you turn on the news, and the sky is falling, the unemployment rate. And so that conversation is probably, going on in their mind. And I think if you can either provide some sort of assurance, and even if you can't provide assurance, let them know where you're at, and that you're at least thinking about it, I think is key. So I guess last thing, I think that was a great segue. How can people find you? How can they get in touch with you? And are you taking on new clients? What type of work are you looking for right now as well? And how can you kind of provide value to people out there right now?
Yeah. So you can go to my website, hiringandempowering.com. We have a podcast link there, and feel free to download any of our podcasts or subscribe to them. And there's also a blog tab there as well. I've been blogging since 2008 on everything in regards to leadership, communication, empowerment, employees, hiring, firing, all that stuff that has to do with really human conditioning. And all three of our books are located on our website as well. And I am always taking on new clients, but the right fit.
Sure.
Somebody that has the mindset and they're willing to show up and do the work, and they're willing to be vulnerable, and they're willing to be real. And so I am really focusing right now of helping people navigate this new water of being in a virtual environment. And it's something that really excites me and I'm passionate about. And I've seen it work very, very successfully. And you're a testament to that for
Yeah,
certain.
awesome. I can vouch for you as well. So, Molly, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We'll have to have you on again. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was
All right.
great.